All right, you got your mic on?
Yes.
All right. Ava, we'll be quiet, okay?
Good job, Ava.
You be quiet? She looks like she's up to no good. Look at that face. All right. I think we're ready. Everything look good on your end?
Are we live?
Yep. We are
back.
live.
I didn't realize it. I really got to hear my satisfying coffee. It reminds me of Folgers. Good.
You gotta go.
Last drop.
Yum. Like that. Yummy, right, Ava?
What did your mom drink when you were young? It was Folgers.
Whiskey.
It was Folgers in my house.
I think like Maxwell House.
Maxwell House, yeah, we were Folgers.
The Folgers.
I always loved the old Folgers Christmas commercial that would come on where the son comes home and he makes the coffee.
Never works like that. And he makes the coffee and wakes his
Yeah,
parents up.
everybody's like, what's that smell?
And meanwhile, the father's like, it's 5 a.m. Get the hell out of my house. Oh, we have to be quiet too?
We have to be quiet.
Okay.
Hi.
So welcome to Friday Live, everybody. It has been a while. It's good to see you. It's been quite a long time. We're going to try to pull off another family show as Ava's sitting over there telling us to be quiet because we told her that we need to be quiet.
She's our stage director today.
Yeah.
Here.
So I will try to not be distracted, but it's going to be nearly impossible with Ava sitting there looking so cute. So it has been a long time. We did not take an intentional break. It was unintentional. We had some family issues to take care of. Nicole's father did pass away. Was a really rough time, and you know that's the way things work sometimes, and you just gotta pick up and move on.
He had been sick for a really long time, so Ava, I really need you to not do that, please, or I'm going to take you inside. Okay. So yeah, but he's not in pain anymore, so we're going to push forward. We have a lot to talk about, like so much.
A lot of time's gone by.
You were in at
IWF.
IWF.
Yeah, I went to Atlanta for IWF with Titebond. I hung out at the Titebond booth, gave away some free books. I met tons of people. I was there for 3 days, a couple hours a day at the booth. And then we had a big meetup at Highland Woodworking, which was a blast. I'm sure some of you in the chat room were there and had a chance to hang out and shake hands, talk a little bit about woodworking. The whole thing was a little weird.
Yeah, well, I wasn't able to be there too.
Yeah.
So I know there was a few people that emailed me and was like,
I tell people like it's Nicole's my handler. Oh well, we were late to the event. That was a bit of a problem. Thing is, we had to come from all the way downtown to Highland, and none of us had eaten. We came right from the show, so we tried to eat. And this restaurant was just like a burger wing bar type restaurant, and it took forever.
Yeah.
It was so long. So we were starving. We had to eat, and we wound up being like 20 minutes late.
And it was my fault for I just assumed since I wasn't there, I didn't know the distance between where you were and where you were
How
going.
long it would take to get there. Well, when we had to get an Uber and all that stuff. So,
so
we walked in.
If you were upset by his tardiness,
suck it up.
No, we're sorry.
Yeah,
but it was uncontrollable.
Well, it was a difficult thing to pull off. But then we walked in, and because we were late, there's this like anticipation buildup, and we walk in, and me and April and Matt are standing there, and it's just kind of like. It was like you could hear a pin drop. It was the most awkward 5-minute period until finally like things started to move and people started to talk a little bit. But it was super awkward. It felt like I was at like a middle school dance. That's really what it was like. It was bad.
Can I put my hands on your butt?
Yeah, squeeze my tush. Okay, so we got a couple things to talk about.
Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks and we have a few things that came in the mail. And
this thing first. I'm not sure if this guy watches the show.
Yeah.
But he, this gentleman, what is his name?
His name's Tom.
Tom.
Tom Eaton.
From PRI Graphics. So it turns out when we had to get some plans printed in...
He's from Glendale, too.
Yeah, in the Phoenix area. My mom went to handle it.
So cool.
Turns out the company, the guy that works for the company, is a big fan of the show. So he was all excited to be doing plans for us and sent me this sort of a live edge, a little bit of a bark area on there. One of these deals, right?
Where you pop it in.
You pop in your phone and it just amplifies. It doesn't really amplify.
Can I have it?
Can I has it?
Can I has it?
You can have it. It just kind
It's
of
on my desk.
it just kind of redirects the volume or the sound, so it kind of pushes it at your face instead of pointing it down. If we could lower her iPad just a hair, that'd be great.
I can do it.
What else do we have?
You also have a couple of T-shirts from Tony. So
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey,
He just
it's
wanted
Tony.
to say thank you for all that we contribute to the woodworking community. He went from not knowing the difference between a free-floating and integral tenon to a guy that makes them.
Oh, sweet.
I come from a long, I've come a long way in the last 4 years. Thanks a lot of what you provide. Best wishes. To
Oh,
your
these are
family.
nice.
Yeah, so.
It's a nice, simple logo.
It's very nice.
I
Thank
noticed
you,
one of the
Tony.
shirts is an XL.
Yeah.
Anyone, if you are,
I'll give that to my brother. He's an XL.
yeah, if you're nice enough to send me a shirt, my size is large. I'm not saying send me shirts. I'm just saying if you're going to, if you want a shot of me wearing it, then this one actually is a large.
Okay.
So we'll send the XL to Jay.
So my brother might even be moving to Colorado now.
Hey,
which
you say that all the time.
He's packing. So I'm very excited about that. So who knows? You might see my brother on the show.
Who knows?
This is from Bob Taylor. He just said wanted to say thank you for everything you do for the community. Love the offcuts, but rarely get to watch it live. Well, Bob, it's okay. We live in a world of technology.
You could always watch it later.
Yeah. So he's a police sergeant in Southwest Florida and a
Sweet.
member of our bomb squad. They made up some poker chip that he sent me along with the challenge coin to add to your collection. Well, thank you, Bob. And I sent you a challenge coin in return. So
Boom, baby.
thank you so much for watching.
It's so nice.
And you met a guy.
Yes, I met a lot of guys.
I looked him up too because I just think this is the coolest thing that he does. He has a website called Elevated Woodworking, and I featured him not last year but the year before. He does these really cool
Topographical maps.
I was going to say topiary.
I should have just let you hang on that one, but I bailed you out.
But so he gave you the United States, and then there's it's like all raised.
Yeah.
But he does like huge maps
That's so cool.
in specific woods, and I think this is cherry.
Does he do states? Can we get one of
Yes,
Colorado?
yes.
Let's get one of Colorado.
Yes, so,
because I'm native-ish.
I think his name. I think it's Nate.
I don't remember. I'm so bad with
I
names.
looked him up because I was like, I know this guy.
But it's elevatedwoodworking.com.
So you met him at IWF, so I thought that was really cool.
And speaking of meeting people, I got a bunch of cards from other people, and you guys were great. Everybody gave me a bunch of contact info, some stickers. IWF was fantastic. And one of my favorite pieces of feedback was when people would say, I love Friday Live.
Aww.
I love Friday Live. Where's Nicole? You suck. Was kind of how I interpreted that.
I don't think that's the case at all, because you know what you do? This show wouldn't exist without all the woodworking questions that you answer.
Oh, that's right. That's
what we do.
That's the point of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So speaking of woodworking questions, we have a few pre-selected from the Patreon post Nicole put up before the events of last week.
Not last week.
Or the week before.
2 weeks before.
So we do actually have some questions pre-selected here. So if you want to help out the show in the future, you can go to patreon.com/WoodWhisperer, and that's always appreciated. And you get priority treatment for your questions. We'll be able to answer those and have them pre-selected. The rest of the questions today will come from the chat room. Nicole's monitoring the YouTube chat room. Okay? So let's go with Kevin's question. Kevin Windsor says, I'm making through tenons that will be wedged. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's not the right one.
I was going to say those.
Wait.
Did you not?
It didn't update. I made these on my... Shoot. Open up Patreon. This is old stuff.
Have you thanked the Patreon people? Have we?
Oh, it's been a while since I've done that. Why isn't my notes aren't updating? Sorry, stupid clouds, right?
Clouds.
I hate the clouds.
It's a conspiracy. It's a cloud conspiracy.
Oh man, I forgot to check.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe on my phone it'll be here. Let me just double check. You bring it up. Sorry, folks. This is what happens when we don't do the show for a while.
This is live. We're bringing it to you live.
That's why we call it Friday Live.
Because you never know what's going to happen. All right. So
Okay, I got him. It updated on my phone.
we like...
Oh, and now it updates on my iPad. As I said.
You need to shake it.
Stupid.
Blow on it. You remember?
And you go. Okay.
Come on, Nintendo.
Gordon White. That's who we have a question from. Gordon White says, I'm going to be cutting a bevel in a long board, 10 to 12 feet or more, for some chair rail trim. Does it make sense and is it safe to put a feather board after the blade on my table saw to hold the board in place and prevent slipping or wobble from affecting the cut? Now, I thought about this. There's left tilt and right tilt, right? So you might be thinking, depending on the tilt, maybe this could be safe. And I can't see a way that it would be safe. No matter what you do, there is going to be an off-cut piece that is going to be, between the feather board and the blade. So the feather board's purpose is to push stuff that way, right, into the fence direction. So I just can't see any way that you can make that safe by putting a feather board after the blade. You could certainly put it before the blade. If you're going to do a whole lot of this stuff, you might look into some of those hold downs, things like board buddies. Jessem has a hold down set. They clamp onto your fence and they apply pressure downward, and the wheel is sort of at a slight angle that sort of pushes your workpiece and holds it against the fence. So it kind of acts like a hold down and a feather board. If you're doing a lot of this stuff, it might be worth the investment to get something along those lines. But a straight feather board behind the blade, 99% of the time, I mean, if there's a cut-off piece involved, it's not a good idea. Triple J Customs, Jose says, hello, Mark. Hope all is well. I'm in the middle of upgrading my dust collection system. Which pipe is better, PVC or HVAC ductwork? All right, so this is a classic woodworker question to debate. This is a great thing to debate in forums if you've got nothing better to do. Go in there and just stir some things up by saying, do I go PVC or metal? Well, first of all, he did mention HVAC ductwork. You got to be careful there. HVAC ductwork, especially some of the snap lock pipe stuff you can get at Home Depot, it's very thin material, and if you have a powerful dust collection system, you could collapse it. So you have to watch the thickness. Most of the stuff that they sell at the home store is probably not going to be thick enough for a good dust collection system. It's just too thin, right? So you want to step up. Now there are companies that sell things like snap lock pipe that would actually be a little bit more of a thicker gauge. You'll be able to withstand the pressure, and that can work just fine. So let's stick to the fundamental question of PVC versus metal. It's largely personal preference. A lot of times some people have a source where they can get the PVC cheaper, so they go PVC. Sometimes someone might have a connection to the HVAC world, so maybe they can get the stuff cheaper made out of metal. I personally prefer the metal. I find it easier to work with. When I have to hang these things, I'd much rather have a 6-foot section of metal pipe than a 6-foot section of sewer and drain PVC. It's a lot heavier, and I just like working with the metal components quite a bit more. That's my personal feelings on it. So the installation between the two can vary a little bit. Hanging them, of course, like I just said, the weight, that can be a factor. The look is certainly a factor, depending on what kind of look you want. And the other thing you're going to hear people talk about, static, okay? I'm one of those people who believes that the static concern is just a nuisance issue. I don't think that there's a safety issue here. So people go way out of their way to ground PVC and run wires through it and all kinds of stuff. And that's perfectly fine if it's doing something for you.
Are you talking about grounding PVC right now? Okay, somebody asked. Okay.
So that, and again, Google it. You'll find tons of information, lots of opinions. You'll probably walk away more confused than you were when you asked the question in the first place. But it's one of those things where I just don't believe in a wood shop environment that PVC poses a serious fire hazard. But if you get a lot of static shocks and you find that doing something with grounding helps you alleviate those shocks, then that's fine. Go for it.
Shocking.
Oh, shocking.
Shocking.
So that's just my opinion on the topic. You got a question?
Yeah, I do. I actually have quite a few. You were just talking about bevel, and I thought I had a bevel question.
We're on the ball today, baby.
I know. Simon, is this right? Yeah. Simon Burgess. Hi. How do you stop boards when you're end grain gluing a panel from curving when you're clamped? I can't speak today.
How do you stop boards when you're edge grain gluing a panel from curving when you're clamping to 4 or 5 boards together?
I don't know.
Okay, I think what he's saying is when you're doing a panel glue up
Okay.
and you have it edge to edge,
Yeah.
4 or 5 boards,
Yeah.
how do you prevent it from curving or bowing?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's asking.
Like a brick.
Yeah, sure, but a brick might not be heavy enough.
Okay.
I think first of all, you want to make sure that all of your joints, when you're edge gluing those, are nice and square. Okay, if they're nice and square, when you apply clamping pressure across there, it has a tendency to want to stay pretty flat. All right, if you have a lot of bowing, you're either inducing sort of one-sided pressure with your clamps, causing it to want to bow, or maybe you're putting too much pressure that forces the boards to just kind of, they buckle. But if your joints aren't, nice and square, you're probably going to end up doing that more often, right? So of course, make sure they're nice and square. Then when you apply your clamping pressure, depending on the clamps you use, you might want to vary how they're positioned. So when I use my parallel clamps, I usually put a couple down, put the panel on top of that, tighten those up, and then before it's done, I come back with my other set of clamps, maybe 2 or 3 more, and drop those on the other way. And I find that evens out the pressure in the panel and helps prevent curving. And of course, calls. All right, that's a classic way to handle it. Call. Not that kind of call.
Okay.
Where you basically take a long strip of stock, maybe put some packing tape on it so the glue doesn't stick, run that across, basically sandwich the ends, and then clamp that sucker together. And you're basically forcing everything to stay flat during the glue up, and that's a perfectly viable way to do it.
You want to do one?
Yeah, so Kevin Windsor.
Did you already do Triple J Customs? Yep. Oh, well, he just did Super Chat, so thank you, Jose.
Oh, thanks, Jose.
Really nice
Super duper chat. Kevin Windsor says, "Hey, Marc and Nicole, I hope you can settle an issue."
I don't think that's how.
No? I hope you can settle an issue regarding power sanders. Several
I don't
sources.
think that's how he sounds either.
He probably doesn't sound like me. Thankfully, most people don't. Several sources advise starting the sander while it's in contact with the workpiece in order to avoid marks and scratches. I always let my sander come to full speed before carefully putting it onto the wood. I think a slow start in contact with the wood will cause scratches, similar to shutting it off in contact with the wood. What do you think? Flame on. I'm kind of in agreement with you, Kevin. I feel like, at least instinctively, I always want to have the thing started and then make sure I'm setting it down nice and parallel with the surface, drop it and go, so it's a nice smooth action. And then when I'm done, I actually do take it up and then turn it off before, I don't let it sit on the surface and stop. So I'm kind of like you. I feel like the jolt of the start and stop process on the surface is more likely to cause damage. I think if you start the saw at full speed and you think about a beginner who doesn't know any better and need to come in at a slight angle and you dig in, yeah, that's going to be bad. So I'm with you on this, Kevin. There may be different opinions. I'm sure just in the chat room alone you'll find people who prefer one way or the other, but I've always gotten decent results by very carefully bringing it down on the surface and just starting.
I have a super chat from Russell Tenney Farmer. That is
Okay.
a cool name. Hi, Marc. What about me?
I'm the only one that matters, although he spelled my name wrong. It's okay though.
When I first decided to start woodworking, I went out and bought a power hand planer. What's a power hand planer?
It's a hand planer that's powered.
How? So
it's a little think about a planer.
Yeah.
And imagine one that's in a handheld thing. It's got a little head on it that rotates, and you go.
That seems very dangerous.
No, if used properly, it's fine.
So he says, then I never used it. Do you have one and use it?
I had. I might. I don't know. I don't have one. I think I sold it when we were in Arizona. Oh. And I'll tell you why I had one. Because when Festool was like sending out, when they were just sending out stuff, like it was, Johnny Appleseed spreading seeds around. They sent me one, and I never used it, and I finally sold it before we left Arizona. There are places where it can be helpful, even in like a fine woodworking shop. Some people use it to take down the high spots on big boards to kind of pre-level them out so that you can send them through the planer. You don't need to use the jointer.
Gotcha.
But generally, I think most people can do without one. I've just never been inclined to use one because I have a fully outfitted, standard shop. A lot of times you'll find them on job sites for, taking the edge of a door down.
Oh, okay.
Things like that.
Yeah.
There are really good uses for it, and certainly creative uses that you could do in a regular shop, but
Speaking of hand planes, you forgot to bring the ones I bought, Marc, 2 hand planes. Where are they?
I don't know. They're over there somewhere. You kicked them out of the kitchen.
Yeah. They're really old. So while I was in Missouri with my dad, they had they called it old thrashers. I'm not sure, what is a thrasher? So it's like a big, farm equipment, right?
I don't know. That's what
anyway.
Ava does every morning when she's all pissed off.
But anyway, it was this big event in my hometown, Montgomery City. And we went there, and they were...
Does everybody trade kindling while they're there?
But there is a lot...
Look at my kindling.
Yeah.
It's really small and dry.
But there's a whole bunch, vendors and,
Yeah.
So there was a guy who had a whole bunch of old woodworking tools, and I made a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
said,
great.
how much would you take off if I bought both of them? He goes, I'll take $10 off, and I bought them for you. And you're like, thanks.
Sweet. Yeah, they're cool. It might be, they're wooden planes. They might be maybe worth restoring, maybe not.
Did you see the
They're a good wall decoration.
Did you see the metal one?
Yeah.
That one was from my dad. He
Okay.
picked that one up for you.
Yeah, her dad always would go to these flea markets and he would find
He got you that
stuff. Yeah, there's a
old-
saw, a
yeah.
rusty old saw up there. I've never used them,
Yeah.
but they're certainly very
Yeah,
wood shoppy.
like flea markets. That's exactly.
Yeah, they
what
were
it was.
cheap,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
flea market
Yeah.
finds.
So anyway.
Okay.
I have I think I just got a super chat in. So I said the one about Triple J Customs. Of course, my computer is just gonna bloop.
All right, well, I'll do one from
You do
Bob
one,
DeVries
yeah,
while
yeah.
we're waiting. My good buddy Bob. He says, since you have been wearing glasses, have you had any issues lining up the bandsaw blade or scroll saw with the work? I wear glasses and I seem to have to blink more to keep track of the line. Not sure if it's a refocusing thing or what. I haven't had that issue, Bob. I have had a little bit of adjustment period because now I'm seeing through this, this glass. So there are times where I'm just not used to having that glass there. But once I grab focus, I seem to be, able to handle it pretty well. And I've got my prescription shop glasses here as well, and they work pretty good too. Now, I guess if I kind of go askew to the side a little bit, I might see a little bit of warping that might cause me a little bit of a problem. But honestly, I don't know whether I'm just lucky. But at this point, when I look at stuff, as long as I'm looking through the middle of the glasses, it feels as good, well, now better, because it's a little bit clearer, than when I didn't wear them at all. So, but that may just be a personal thing.
Nathan says, what were you just talking about?
Glasses.
Oh, bandsaw. Someone just asked me, Randy Owens, is there a proper way to tension bandsaw blades? Are they supposed to be loosened when not in use? Didn't you do a whole video on that with Alex?
We have a video. It wasn't so focused on tension so much as calibration, but tension is part of that. And the blade tension can vary by brand. For instance, Timberwolf blades are a low tension blade. They actually want it to have less tension than your typical blade. Most other brands, you've got that gauge that doesn't work very well on the saw itself that we can use as a rough estimate. But it kind of depends, all right? So there are some rules of thumb. If you're not sure, do this thing. And then usually people will tell you how much you should be able to move it with a little bit of pressure with your finger. And if it goes too much, then you tighten it up a little bit more, and vice versa. As far as detensioning, I've never really been a detensioner until,
In school you were.
Was I?
Detention, get it?
Nicole! You are just a little, you're just a pill today. Look at you. Right, Ava? Yeah, that's funny. So I've never really detensioned my blades because I'm lazy. And now the good thing is both of my saws have quick released detention. So anytime I remember to do it, I will detension. And the reason I do it is, number one, if you leave it under tension, and again, a lot of people don't, and it's fine. I'm just saying theoretically why. If you leave it under tension, you put a lot of pressure on the tire in that one spot, right? So you could eventually sort of push a flat into that spot. That's one of the theories. Plus, you're also leaving all of the bearings, the post, everything that is resisting that tension. It's basically staying under tension the whole time. So I have had a bandsaw in the past where I think the bearings were just kind of shot, and it would make this grinding noise. It would still work, but it sounded horrible. And I kept that one under tension at all times. So I don't know if it was the tension that caused the problem, but that was the only time I ever had an issue. So now, because I have a little handle that I go bloop, and I can detension it, I do, because why not? It doesn't affect the calibration. Or
Everybody
anything.
in the chat saying, "Mom joke."
Yeah, that is a mom joke.
We got a super chat from Reggie Williams. I like the name Reggie.
Reggie.
Didn't you name our little?
This is not going to help your case with
well,
Reggie.
I just like the name Reggie.
We had a maroon ceramic piglet.
He's so cute.
It was really cute that Nicole bought, and I put him at the front door to like guard the front door, and I named him Reggie.
Yep. How in the world do you control the organization of all your clamps? I'm almost at my wit's end with all the clamps. Any suggestions? By the way, I have 4 of the Rockler pack racks already.
Well, I think the thing is, Reggie, you gotta stop buying clamps.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the problems is like you organize and then suddenly you go, ooh, a sale,
Yeah.
and then you go and buy 10 more clamps. So if you aren't buying lots of clamps, it really just comes down to organizing them the same way you would make like a tool cabinet for your chisels. Well, if you're not going to buy any more chisels, you should be able to design a cabinet that has a holder that holds all those chisels, and everything should work fine from then on out. So I've got a parallel clamp rack. There's an article on my website I didn't do a video, but an article on how to build that, as well as a wall clamp rack. Now, I do add, and sometimes I'll get them for review or whatnot, but I've got a lot of like F-style clamps, C clamps, just small, fancy, little, specific one-time use do-jobby clamps.
Do-jobby clamps.
And I have a pipe rack clamp. So basically, a pipe rack, I should say. Basically 2 vertical pieces and then pipes that run through it. And then you could just hang whatever you want, wherever you want. And this way, as long as you have enough capacity there, doesn't really matter, where things go. Try to keep them organized. I will say that those Rockler racks, for the most part, are pretty good. I don't like the racks for the parallel clamps that come out the wall and they're kind of a triangle shape. They're very inefficient in terms of storage space. So I don't recommend those unless you've just got lots of extra space. Build your own for the parallel clamp rack. But I actually do use one of the small Rockler parallel clamp rack, not the ones that come off the wall this way, but the ones that are horizontal. And that one works pretty well too. So those are a good solution if you don't want to build something.
I want to give a shout out to Barry Toddy. I think that, sorry if I butcher your name. You get me to butcher your name if you write to me.
Does he call himself
He's in
Hot
Australia,
Toddy?
and we're helping him through the night shift. It's 2:30 a.m.
Oh, sweet.
So
I love the
my
night
mom
shift.
works the night shift. It's hell. So
Night shift
hang
is the
in there.
best. When I worked at PetSmart,
Yeah.
and we would have like a regional manager coming through to look at the store, we would go through this blitz cleanup, and we would do overnights to like make sure the store looked perfect.
So I used to work at a hardware store. It was called Payless Cashways. And we would have night shifts where we would do inventory and all that, and I could do extra shifts, and I did something similar.
Back in college, that was fine.
Yeah.
And like the all-nighters studying for college, that was fine. Now that would kill me.
I would probably throw up.
Yeah.
I've actually stayed up.
It's 3 a.m.
I've stayed up till like 1, and I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling so good.
You're weird.
Yeah, I am weird.
Okay, let's answer Josh's question.
Yeah.
So Joshua Luther says, Mark, did you talk about your miter saw station fence decision yet? Hot topic. Almost as controversial as what glue to use. I'm only half kidding. Yeah, I don't know, Joshua. I don't know why that became a topic that was such a big deal. On Instagram, you got to follow me on Instagram. If you don't, you're missing out.
What's your handle?
Because I do lots of stuff on Instagram. WoodWhisperer on Instagram. So yeah, I'm building a miter saw station, and I made a declaration that I'm not going to be putting a fence on this miter saw station because I don't think they're necessary. I think they get in the way, and unless you really want one, just because you want one, I don't think they really serve a good purpose. And I have yet to hear an argument for why they're useful. So instead of a fence, I'll just be putting a T-track into the flat, and then I'll use stops. I could even do like a flip stop if I want to. I could do a measurement tape on there, and it's all flat. So now I have this nice flat surface if I want to do something else with that. The problem with the fence is that it just kind of takes up all this space, and now your horizontal space that you could have used for other things, you're not going to be able to use because you're limited by the fence. Anyway, I made this opinion known, and then next thing you know, people are contacting Jay Bates, who has a really nice miter station that he built years ago, but he's one of the more popular miter stations if you look on YouTube, and his has a fence. And they basically were like asking him to give a rebuttal to this, to justify why he has one, and it was just a funny thing. So yeah, go check that out. But I don't know how else to explain it. I've yet to hear someone present a really good case for why you should have a fence at the miter saw. In fact, most people who have a fence at the miter saw will push it back about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even 1/4 of an inch. And that way, if they have a long board, let's say, that has a little bit of a bow in it or something, it won't interfere with the registration. You're still just registering from the miter saw's fence. Well, if you're going to set the fence back, then why do you even have it there, right? It's there as a stop. So then get rid of the fence, put a T-track in the bottom, and then get your stop that way. You just don't need a fence. And I will go down swinging for anyone else who disagrees with me. I don't really care that much.
Let's pinch it off.
Listen, Nicole, you don't rush me. When I'm talking about woodworking, you sit back
Yeah.
and count your challenge coins. Okay, do we have more questions?
Yeah. A super chat from Jake Baker. Since we're doing mom's jokes now, I have a problem with speed bumps, but I'm slowly getting over them. But I'm fine. Thanks, Jake.
That was good.
Ben,
that was worth it.
Ben Bodner.
Yes.
I just made the 2013 Woodworkers Fighting Cancer art easel for my goddaughter. She loves it. Thank you guys so much for spearheading Woodworkers Fighting Cancer and the project idea, my most rewarding project to date.
Well, thank you, Ben.
So, I didn't tell you this yet, but I want to make a memory box for my dad for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer, and I'm gonna do the auctions and all that.
So you are doing it.
So I am doing it. So.
And you're going to make the box?
I want to make the box. I want to do it.
All right.
So, I just want a nice little memory box.
And don't get me wrong, anyone who's watching this, don't think that I'm making fun of her wanting to make a box. I have a feeling I'm going to need to supervise this activity.
No, yes, that's what I want. I don't know anything about woodworking. I mean, I guess I could watch your videos, but.
You should, we have a video for that, Nicole.
But I want to make.
Well, previously we were not going to do it.
Yeah, because it was just too
and
much,
I wasn't going to push it because I don't know where your head is with this stuff. But
I need.
I will follow your lead.
I need something to focus on, to make tangible.
You focus on a little crumb cruncher.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Jennifer Lowry. She didn't say anything, but shout out to you, Jennifer.
Hey.
If you do have a question, drop it in the chat and I'll read it.
And we're going to wrap this up here pretty soon.
So you better do fast.
Any more?
The Wood Lab, our friend Jim.
Thanks, buddy.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks, Jim.
It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
It really
I have a ton of questions here.
really is.
Steve Tippett said, thanks for the mentoring opportunity. The young man you assigned me has been in contact, so hopefully we'll be off and running. So what Steve is talking about, if you're a guild member and you join the guild Facebook chat, we have this cool new Facebook feature where we can match members together. And that's what we're doing. So
Matchmaker, make me a match.
That's what I'm doing. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and I redo things, and I'll put a mentor with a different person, and it's loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And I do have a number of members that are almost to the end of their
They're going through the whole process?
Yeah, it's
That's
really
great.
cool. N4 Maine wants to know how you like your new Incra router table. And didn't you do a whole guild meeting on that?
There's a video in the guild. About it.
But he
I
likes
like it. And he says, how do you compare it to the Jessem? I mean, they're both great router tables, but Incra, in terms of adjustability and the way their fence system works, it's kind of hard to beat. So I really like it for that particular style of tool. So it's a little bit pricey, but I would say I'm enjoying it better than the Jessem system.
And Jennifer did drop me a question. She said, hello from MS. Is that Mississippi?
Sure.
I think it is. How will you introduce woodworking to your kids? I've been researching ways to safely get my 3, 7, and 10-year-old involved. I'm determined that they grow up knowing how to work with their hands. I was just thinking about that the other day.
It's tricky. I mean, I think about this with Mateo, and I'm trying to figure out ways. See, to me, I know enough about woodworking that I feel like I've got a grasp on the safety aspects. What I'm trying to figure out is how to make him really interested in it. And it's getting harder and harder because we're talking about kids who spend, a good portion of their time playing video games.
He's like his mama. He likes the digital things.
Right.
But I get what you're saying.
So, and that does make it trickier to get these kids to be interested in doing things that are just tangible with their hands. And as you're saying, like, you're determined to make sure they know. I am too, and it is a little bit of an uphill battle. So like if I'm fixing an outlet, or doing some basic DIY stuff in the house, I actually do try to engage Mateo, and Ava's starting to get to that age now.
She's over there banging on her toy.
She has a little toy workbench that she plays with, so I actually think Ava might end up in the shop before Mateo.
So too.
But I do try to pull them into these things. At the very least, one of the best things you can do is model behavior, and I don't mean to sound like I'm like preachy parenting sort of thing like that, but it sounds like you're already doing this. So that even if you don't get them in the shop, if you in your house are actually doing things and you're showing them that you don't have to call services all the time to get things done around the house, you're modeling a behavior that will stick. And I think some point in the future, they'll pick up on this stuff, and then when they have their own apartment or something in the future, they'll be like, wait a minute, my mom used to always do this stuff herself. Why am I going to call someone else? And then maybe you'll get the phone call at that point, like, Mom,
can you show me?
Can you show me how to change this light bulb? Because I can't see. So I'm thinking some of that will absorb, but ultimately you do have to pull them in a little bit.
And I think, like you tell other people, find a project that you want. So if he wants something...
Find something the kid wants.
So he wants a bunk bed. I think that would be a great opportunity for him to... not for him to build the bed, but to
You have to go out of your way to find parts of the project that are a confined, easily accomplishable goal.
A drill press.
Yeah. And using the drill is one of those things. Just at a certain point, and that's what I've done with the kids, is pull them in at certain points in the project where they can actually help out. If they mess up, it's not a deal breaker for the project, and just kind of pique their interest a little bit. And of course, keep safety in mind. And this is something that in the future, as the kids show more interest, my content may go in that direction a little bit. I may do more
I would love to see that.
collaboration projects with the kids if they're interested in it.
Well, if Mateo can handle the camera, because we were going to...
Yes, that's right. I was going to pull Mateo in to make that washer game, and I bought all the materials. We kind of started the project. He watches like streamers online, so he watches gamers online, and he already understands what we do for a living. So he sees the camera, and he's just like, he's on. He's like, I'm like, dude, settle down. Forget that the camera is here. Just work with Dad. And he's doing a, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. So it's a little bit tricky with Mateo. He is a ham. I don't know where he gets it from.
No, I don't either.
Kids.
We have a couple more super chats.
What are you going to do?
One from
We got to finish up.
Jason.
Okay.
I'm adding an attached
24 by 25 garage plus a 12 by 13 space on the back as a small shop. Is there anything you would advise I absolutely ensure have/add that is hard to add after construction? Oh, well, definitely electrical, right? Outlets are just a pain in the butt. Power is a pain in the butt to run, but you will never regret having too much power, right? So make sure that you have good outlets all around. You can see when I did mine, this was done after the fact. They had to do drops, but we've got an attic space, so it was actually pretty easy. But you can't really go more than 4 or 5 feet before you hit another outlet. Outlets allow you to get creative. So you can have your placement of tools wherever you need them, and you can change your mind. Ceiling outlets, another good thing. If you have air cleaners, special lights, power, like a retractable power unit, you want ceiling power for that. If you are doing a concrete slab, consider power in the floor. You may also consider things like audio and internet. So, Wi-Fi is fine for most people. For my purposes, I like a wired connection for things like this because we do live streaming. So if, during the construction phase, running things like speaker wire, cable wire, Ethernet cable is super cheap. It's like next to nothing. But the wire will be there, and then you can use it if you need it, right? So that's definitely something to do if you have control over that during that phase. And of course, good lighting. You never regret having a good amount of light in that space. So have all that stuff taken care of beforehand, and then you could just make the space what you need it to be, but you have the foundation there for a good shop.
G. Meyer wants to know if we're going to the Rocky Mountain Tool Collectors annual meet this weekend in Aurora.
I never even heard of it.
No.
What do I know?
I'm a bit overwhelmed with everything.
I just moved here 2 years ago.
Yeah. Rocky Mountain Tool Collectors. But
It sounds cool, though.
I'll look it up and put it on our schedule for next year.
Millie, stay in the shop, please.
We have a super chat from Corey Nicolaides.
Nicolatus.
Sorry, Corey.
I think we'll just call him Corey.
Corey, just getting here. Is this a parenting show? No, but I did do an audio parenting show called Nerd Parents for a year.
That was fun.
Yeah. I would like to start it back up.
And yes, this is a parenting show.
Just
We're
kidding.
parenting right now.
I love you guys. All the best. Also, another super chat from Justin Hill. Thank you for Friday Live. Always amusing and educational.
All right. I'm going to thank people. You want to bring Ava so she can say goodbye?
Come here and say bye-bye.
All right, so we want to thank folks who helped us out on Patreon. We always appreciate your support. Our good buddy Bob DeVries, Brandon Terry, Jason Schmidt, and Jesse Tolan. Actually, that might be a Wood Talk one. Sometimes they cross over there for some reason. But thank you so much, folks. Thanks for bearing with us with this whole schedule thing.
It'll be better next week.
Yeah, we'll get it under control. Ava's going to probably start pre-K soon.
She's
so we'll get our Fridays back, I think, right?
Yep.
Ava, do you want to say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Wait, see,
Look at the camera. Say bye-bye.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, there she is.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ava, are you a punk?
Punk.
Yeah, you're a punk.
Oh, love.
Oh, hug it.
You want to hold it? Oh, you want to hug it?
I want to hug it.
Oh.